Welcome to the channel, Guitars, Mods, and Music. I'm Paul. Vita's behind the camera. Today we're going to talk about soldering tips and tricks, the stuff we use. So let's get to it. So the first thing you need is a good soldering station. Picked this one up for about $60 on Amazon. This is not a sponsored video. This is just the stuff we use to get the jobs done that we're working on. I'm just sharing it with you guys. There's a lot of ways to do this stuff. This is just how we do it. So, good soldering station. Picked it up on Amazon. You can get the single-handled ones from hardware stores or Amazon or whatever. They just don't get hot enough. They'll work. You have to hold it on your components for too long, and the whole key is it needs to get hot quick. You don't want to sit there and burn up your components. You need to be at 350 to 375 Celsius. It'll tell you the melting points on your soldering wire. On your soldering wire, it'll say 60-40 or 40-60. That's your tin and lead ratio. Either one of them's good. I prefer the 60-40. It just seems to work a little better for me, but really there's no big difference. There's also lead-free solders. They're really not what you want to use for guitar components. You want to use a solder that says rosin core. The flux core will work, but it's for a harder, harsher metals. And on guitar components or any kind of little electrical components, it will leave a residue and it actually will start corrosive kind of damage in time. So you just need a rosin core, 40-60, 60-40, and that's the best stuff to use as far as I've found out. Now there's a lot of different types of tips. Guys that do a lot of soldering, they'll use a pointy tip like this. It will get you know, the real intricate stuff, you know, I mean, these guys, they'll use that for everything. They have more skills than what I do. I use a flat tip like that, a chisel tip they call it. Now, a lot of guys use a straight chisel. I like to use this slanted one. I think it's just kind of the way I hold the handle that the slanted one works better for me, but a lot of guys use the straight chisel. And like I said, you want to have your temperature up to around 350, 375 Celsius. First thing you want to do, preset your soldering iron to 375. A lot of times they'll actually tell you the melting point on your soldering wire. So then you want to have your sponge wet. Wet this sponge and kind of clean your tip a little bit. You're going to tin your tip. Get it on there and wipe it off. Do the other side. The other important thing that you're going to want is you're going to want something that's going to hold your parts. You know, when you're dealing with components, small components, you don't want them to move around. If they're slightly moving and it looks like you got a good soldering joint, because soldering's not welding. There's two different things. And if it looks like you got a good soldering joint, but it moved a little bit, it's not going to give you the grip there that you want. You want a good connection that's not going to have any little crack in it that you can't see, that's going to keep you from getting a full connection. So alligator clips, I use them to hold stuff. I can take a old pick guard and I'll put a component in the old pick guard and use it. You can take a piece of wood, you can cut that, drill some holes in it. You know, whatever works for you, whatever you're doing, make little jigs for certain things if you're doing a lot of something, you know. But I use these old pick guards a lot. I can take them, I can set them up on a little angle like that if I need to. Take the part, put it in there. They work well. I've even used cardboard before. Take a piece of cardboard, just poke a hole in it, use that to hold stuff. You know, whatever's going to hold it, keep it in its place. A little cardboard, some tape holding the cardboard so it don't slide around. Okay, so when you're going to wire something to a lug on a component, I like to come to the back side of the lug. Hold that on there and get that warm. Hold it on the back side of the lug. Fill that hole. Let that cool off. Okay, so when you trim your wire back, not any more than 1/4 inch or less. You don't want very much, just a little bit. You're dealing with these small components. I take it, I'll set it in my alligator clip like that. You gotta tin this wire, stiffen it up a little bit, makes it all come together. Then I heat it underneath the wire. Heat it under the wire, get a good little coat on there. I run my tip across a few times like that. Nice shiny coat on there. Now you're ready to wire it to the lug. So you got your wire tinned, you got the hole on your lug filled. Heat up the back side, run the wire through the hole. There you have a clean little joint. If you're worrywart like I am, you can go ahead and drop a little drop on top. Not really necessary. Clean your tip back off after every solder. Soldering your grounds on the back of the pots. You're going to do the same thing. You're going to pre-tin your wire. You can see that soaking through all the wires. Clean your tip, let it cool. Now if you get a little drip on the end of that, you can take your cutters, just snip that right off of there. You have a nice little end. You're gonna come over here to your pot. Now some people sand it a little bit where they're gonna do it. It's not necessary. If that's something you feel like you need to do it. I used to do it. I found out that it really wasn't necessary. So you're gonna heat up your pot. Put your nice little drop on there and let it cool. And you're gonna take your pre-tinned wire, set your iron on that spot. When you see it start to move around, slide your wire right up underneath your tip. Let her cool. Clean your tip off. And there you have it. It's a good grounded, solid ground. So soldering 2 pieces of braided wire together. First thing I do is twist them together. Now, you don't have to twist them real tight. You know, you want the solder to be able to get down through the wires. So I just give it a little twist like this. Alligator clips that I'm going to hold it with. A lot of times I try to leave the little rubber tips on. You don't have to, but a lot of times it leaves little grooves in the wire. And if you don't like that, well, leave these little tips on. But a lot of times I take them off as well. So I twist them 2 wires together like that. And something, you know, for speed, you see that little ball on the end of that from the last soldering that we did? If you take and just trim that off, you don't have to wait as long for it to heat up. Just trim her off nice and straight there. Then I just do the same thing like if I was going to be tinning it. I start in the middle, that way my coating, plastic coating on the outside's not. And I just run down it one time like this, both directions. Then I go ahead and smooth her out. There you have it. Nice, shiny, looks good. So there you have it. That's just a few of the things I do. I know a lot of people do things differently. That's just a few of the things I do and the products that we use to do it. Hope you found this video helpful. Have any questions? Leave them in the comments. We'll get back to you. Have a great day. Have a great week. I'm Paul Hopley, and until our next video, remember, play your guitars, mod your guitars, and make them your own.